job, Victor.
What is up, guys? Welcome to WizKidsForever, your new latest and greatest podcast for everything Washington Wizards basketball. Now, if you've seen this face before and I look familiar, I do run a rather successful, not to toot my own horn, a rather successful podcast on the Washington Commanders titled Bleeding B&G that I'll be running from the same channel. But I wanted to start this podcast titled WizKidsForever just to show you guys that we know just as much about our local basketball team as we do our local football team. So I gotta hold up to my self-proclaimed title as, a DC sport aficionado. And as I said, welcome to WizKidsForever. But before we get too deep into this episode, guys, be sure to comment, be sure to like, and be sure to subscribe, especially if you're checking us out on YouTube, because we want to finesse these algorithms so that when you're looking for anything Washington Wizards basketball, WizKidsForever is your number one content hub to finesse these algorithms so that you're tapped in. Because guess what? WizKidsForever, if you've been following us and if you're Bleeding B&G fans, we're going to give you the most raw, the most uncut, the most unfiltered, but the most knowledgeable information out there regarding our basketball team as well. So like I said, I wanted to start this podcast because I love Washington Wizards basketball just as much as I do Washington Commander football. And it is basketball season. To give you a timestamp, today is Tuesday, October the 24th, and the NBA season kicks off in a matter of minutes. But unfortunately, and I know it pains us all, we have to wait another 24 hours to see our beloved Washington Wizards tip off their 2023-2024 season on the road against the Indiana Pacers, something that they did last year. This feels like deja vu. But I'm not going to keep you long. This is our pilot episode. I just want to let you guys know what we're about. So WizKidsForever. This is an ode to Steve Buckhands. This is a guy, some of the most prevalent Washington Wizard moments that stick out in my memory, that stick out in my head are, coming into games, saying, Steve Buckhands and Phil Chenier on the call, and him letting us know that the Wiz Kids are ready for action. The Wiz Kids are ready for battle. And I remember that vividly during the Gilbert Arenas era. I've been a Washington Wizards fan for over 20 years. I think I've been a Washington Wizards fan longer than I actually been a Washington Commander fan. Because I was actually a basketball fan before I was into football. Guys, I'm talking about before Gilbert Arenas was a thing, before John Wall was a thing, and I'll be 28 next year. But I was going to games with Jahidi White, right? Popeye Jones, Chris Whitney, giving you blasts from the past, right? I was going to games before Michael Jordan's stint here, right? And so I'm like a Washington sports encyclopedia, not to toot my own horn. But I'm letting you guys know that if you're tuned in to WizKidsForever, you're in great hands. This is a guy that's been watching Washington Wizards basketball since he was a kid. And like I said, I'll be 28 next month. And hopefully one of my annual birthday traditions is I actually get to go to a Wizards game. I'm eyeing that Bucks game on November 20th, with my birthday being November 21st. So hopefully I get to, spend my annual tradition. I'm not even saying hopefully, because guess what? We do this every year. But yeah, I treat myself to a Wizards game every birthday. If you call it a treat, with some of these recent years, you might call it putting myself through misery on my birthday. But I love this team. I love this organization. My love for this organization goes deep, goes far back. And like I said, this is like from 1999. I was born in 95. I've been watching Washington Wizards basketball since 1999, since the turn of the century. So guess what? I'm a young OG when it comes to talking about these Washington Wizards. But yeah, like I said, thank you guys for tuning in to WizKidsForever. This is your new content hub for everything Washington Wizards basketball. So not only do we have the podcast, but we also have Instagram and X pages. So go ahead and check those out as well. WizKidsForever. The same. That's the name of our Instagram handle. That's the name of our X handle. The same name as the title of this podcast. So as I mentioned, the 2023 season is underway. I don't want to keep you guys too long because I want you guys to get to watching your basketball, because I know the NBA, they have the most crazy fans, right? The NFL might be the largest sport in the country, but ain't nothing like NBA Twitter, or what are we calling it, NBA X nowadays? Ain't nothing like that. And that's what I'm most excited about with the NBA season. That now that I'm starting this podcast, I know I'm going to be getting in a lot of NBA X, NBA Twitter debates, and I can't wait. Because, we like to talk that good smack over here at WizKidsForever. We know the troll. We know the troll. But we know the troll in a knowledgeable way. I like to call it politely getting you out of the way. Pause. But just to touch with some housekeeping news that I wanted to mention about the Washington Commanders and my outlook. Excuse me. Y'all got to spare with me. I'm so used to doing this. I run the Washington Commanders podcast. And I have episodes about 3 times a week. But getting to our Washington Wizards, let me get in the basketball mindset. Just some housekeeping news that I wanted to touch on for our Washington Wizards and the outlook that I have for the Washington Wizards going into this season, starting tomorrow. So at the beginning of the week, Denny Avdia, news broke that he signed a 4-year, $55 million contract. And when I looked at it, it was a rather modest deal, but we got to clap it up. Any bag is a bigger bag than mine in the NBA, right? So it's a rather modest deal by NBA standards, because when you get in depth and you look at the actual cap structure of the contract and the contract structure, this deal that Denny signed actually has less impact and less significance on the cap than a mid-level exception would be, right? And this is a theme that you looked with a lot of guys that signed those rookie extensions over the weekend. I think the deadline was actually yesterday. So when you look at guys like Onyeka Okongwu, Cole Anthony, look at guys like Josh Green for the Mavericks, these guys signed rather modest deals. And I think that these are deals that, these are deals that we're going to look to stay inside the NBA, right? We're not going to look for these outlandish deals. The top of the draft with Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Halliburton, and LaMelo Ball, they signed those massive 250 plus max contract, max money type deals. But I think that these guys that were in the lower end of the lottery, the lower end of the first round, that might not be superstars like the guys that I just mentioned, but are key role players and key contributors to this team, like we're projecting Denny to be from this year going forward. They signed rather modest deals, but these are deals that's going to keep them in the NBA, right? Like I said, these aren't bad players. They're not superstars. These are first-round type talents, and these are guys that if they're not going to stick with their team and the team that signed them to these rookie extensions, these are deals that are easily tradable. And Denny's no exception. Denny is no exclusion to the rule. I think that a 4-year, $55 million deal, that deal can get moved at any second. And I'm not saying that I don't think that Denny Avdia is in the future plans, because he obviously is, because we wouldn't have signed him to this deal. But I'm saying that I think that this roster is going to be so fluid that you'll be naive and you'll be a fool not to look at some of these cap numbers and the cap structure. And not just the money, but the length of the years and, how much impact it has on the dead cap and things like that. Because I think that this roster is going to be so fluid. And I'm going to touch on that in a little bit later in the episode, that, you might be here one day, you might be gone the next. Will Dawkins, Michael Winger, the new front office at the helm. I think that these guys, if you look at their history, especially if you look with the history of the OKC Thunder in the recent years, their roster has been so fluid, right? Their roster has been so fluid to the point where this year they had such an accumulation of assets that they had to waive and cut guys that actually are going to get minutes, substantial amount of minutes in the NBA this season. And you're thinking like the OKC powerhouse. You're thinking of the OKC Thunder, and I'm talking about them like they're a powerhouse. But no, they've accumulated so many assets with the passage of thinking that I think that we're going to be going into this season, and not only this season, but years to come with. I think that we're going to have such a fluid roster that we're going to be collecting such assets and then he can be looked at as an asset for not only the Washington Wizards, but the rest of the league as well. This is a guy who's still young. I think he's either 22 or 23 years old. He's one of the most versatile defenders in the league. Now, I'm not saying he's the best, but he can not only guard bigs, but he can guard wings on the perimeter. And this is a guy that has some offensive upside as well. To be honest, guys, I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while now. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while now. This podcast has been in, this is full transparency as well. This podcast has been in the works for over 3 years, to be honest, or just around 3 years. Right when I started my Bleeding B&G podcast, we're about 3 years strong with that. And when I wanted to start this podcast going into the, 2020, 2021 COVID shortened season, and this is to be honest, this is to be 100% honest. My favorite Washington Wizard was traded the day before I was going to start this podcast. And that was John Wall. If you can't see, that's a John Wall autographed jersey patch right there. Right there. There we go. Right there. John Wall and Gilbert Arenas are my favorite all-time Washington Wizards, like so many other Washington Wizards fans. So, needless to say, when that happened, I didn't want to pod about the Washington Wizards for a minute because I knew that we were going to suck. Yeah, we brought in Russell Westbrook, and I'm not saying that Russell Westbrook wasn't a better player than John Wall at the time, and putting my emotions outside of it. But I knew that Russell Westbrook wasn't here for the long haul. And I knew that we were going to be on this treadmill of mediocrity that we have been going over for the last 3 or 4 seasons, right? And the reason why I'm so rejuvenated and I'm so excited to start this podcast now is because this new front office with Michael Winger, with my man Will Dawkins, I think that these guys have the foresight and the wisdom to not only put us in a rebuild, which we have already started, to not only get us through this rebuild, but bring us out on the brighter side. I think that we're going to be looking up in a couple of years and be championship-type contenders if we do this rebuild right. Now, I know it was rough trading Bradley Beal for a couple of fucking canned sodas. I told you, we get raw, uncut, and unfiltered over here at WizKidsForever. So I know it was fucking rough to trade Bradley Beal for a ham sandwich, but Tommy Shepard depreciated his value. This organization depreciated his value so much. We just had to do what we had to do. So I wasn't mad at the move because we needed to get this rebuild started sooner or later. And as I told you, the rebuild has started. Now, I was kind of surprised when we brought Kyle Kuzma in, but looking at the outlook of things like looking at the outlook of the roster and the future and the way that the NBA is going and the way that I think that this roster is going to be constructed, I think that Kyle Kuzma is a big piece in what we believe this roster is going to be. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be here for the long haul and look at us holding up that what is the Bill Russell trophy at this point? The Larry O'Brien. Is it still the Larry O'Brien championship trophy? They didn't change the trophy name so many times over the course of the last couple of seasons. But I don't think that Kuzma's going to be here, but he fits that positionless basketball type player, that positionless basketball type mode, these long wing type defenders, these long wing type players, because I'm not saying Kyle Kuzma is an elite defender by any means, but he's the type of player that fits the future and the evolution of basketball, right? These versatile guys who can not only bring the ball down the court, they can post up a little bit when they need to, they're a bucket getter, and when they're putting their mind to it, they can defend. Because how many real defenders are there in the NBA nowadays? Maybe 10? Maybe 11? So, I mean, I love the outlook. I love the fact that we started a rebuild, and that's why I'm so excited to start this podcast. Because the rebuild is finally here, and the treadmill of mediocrity is over. So I say that to say I expect us to be ass this year. I expect us to be dog shit record-wise. But I expect us to be one of the most fun teams to watch. For me. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to be a league pass team. I'm not saying that we're going to be throwing a bunch of alley-oops and things like that. But knowing that there's a plan, that's more promising than knowing or thinking and hoping and wishing for the 8th seed or the 9th seed or the 10th seed every year, right? We have a plan. Now, I'm not sure if we're taking this year because I'm not sure if Ron Holland or whoever's at the top of this draft board going into the 2023 season, looking outlook for the 2024 draft, I'm not sure if anybody is worth tanking. And then when you look back at the 2023 draft, I want to shed a tear every time I look at Adrian Wojnarowski's tweet that we were one ping pong ball away. One ping pong ball away from that alien, Victor Wembanyama. So knowing that is going to kill this season. But on the bright side, Bilal Coulibaly is my favorite rookie since John Wall. And that is not hyperbole. That is not hyperbole. And I say that to say I wasn't the biggest guy. Now, Bradley Beal turned out to be a hell of a player. I'm talking about as a prospect. I wasn't as high on a guy like Bradley Beal coming out of Florida. To me, he had some limitations. Like I told you, we've been doing this for a while. I've been scouting players since I was in high school. To me, Bradley Beal had some limitations that have proved to be true. I didn't think that he was going to be a scoring machine that he turned out to be for that short span that he was averaging over 30 with the Washington Wizards. But, I didn't think he was a superior athlete. He was a 6'3" shooting guard. So that presents some defensive challenges in itself. So I wasn't necessarily excited about Bradley Beal. I knew that he was a great player, though. And I knew he had a lot of potential pairing him with John Wall. But let me tell you about this boy, Bilal. Do we got a name for Bilal yet? I want to call Bilal the French fry so bad. Because I feel like he's about to fry shit so bad up here in Washington. Now, a lot of you guys were skeptical of the pick. You guys called Bilal a project. Guess what? That's what rebuilding teams do. Draft projects. Especially when there isn't a shoe-in on the board. And I think that Bilal has the potential to be one of the best defenders in the NBA from day one. You see, he was one of the league leaders in steals throughout the preseason. And the offensive tangibles are just going to grow. Now, I know you hear a lot of guys who have these similar growth spurt stories, similar to Anthony Davis, similar to Giannis Antetokounmpo, and those are the type of comparisons that they get coming out of the draft or coming out of wherever they come from. But I really believe it with Bilal. This is a guy that was 5'11" 2 years ago. And he plays every bit of his 6'7" frame, and he looks like he has room to grow. His body wiry as hell. He looks like he has a lot of frame to fill out. This is a guy that might end up being a 6'10" shooting guard, small forward. These are the type of home run swings that you take when you're a rebuilding team, excuse me. You take flyers on these projects. You take flyers on guys that have the potential to be top 15 players in the NBA. That's what the Bucks did with Giannis, and look at the payoff. That's so much better than hoping that old-ass Bradley Beal with one hamstring and a bunch of Jags can patch together an 8th seed season, a 9th seed season. That's why I'm so excited about going into this season. Like I told you, the team is going to be bad, but they're going to be fun to watch. I'm excited about Bilal. I think he's going to be a defensive menace from day one. I think that his offense is going to come around by the end of the season if we let him rock out. Give him starter minutes. What we got to lose? You want the number one pick anyway. I'm excited about Jordan Poole. He gets the flashiest, loudest buckets in the NBA. No, he's not the best scorer. But you let me know a guy that averages 20 louder than Jordan Poole. I'd rather watch that than Bradley Beal, and I love Bradley Beal. But the Bradley Beal experiment in Washington was long gone. That shit was cooked in 2020. In 2019, if we're being honest. That shit was cooked. Yes, I'm going to love watching Jordan Poole twing, 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 snatch back, pull back hezzy, hit a three, blow a kiss to a baddie in the front row. While we lose all but 76 games. I'm going to love watching that going 6-76 this year. Because I know there's a plan. I'm going to love watching Kyle Kuzma pull up in these goofy-ass looking sweaters this year. And I love some of them. You see. Big fashion guys over here at WizKidsForever. So I love some of Kuz's fits. If you can't see his shoe collection go crazy. I love some of Kuz's fits. I'm going to love seeing that this year, knowing that we're going to get our ass whooped. Because guess what? These are some of the trials, these are some of the lumps that you got to take when you're looking at a 3 to 5 year plan when you're looking to come out on the other side in 3 to 5 years. As I mentioned, the roster is going to be fluid. We're going to lose a lot of games this year simply because we can't get a fucking rebound. We're going to have a hella 1 to 5 point losses. We're going to be covering machines this year with hella losses. I'm telling you that now for all of my gambling fans. We're going to have hella 1 to 5 point losses. Play Washington to cover and play the over. Because I don't see much paint defense being played this year. Especially not with Daniel Gafford as your starting center. I love Daniel Gafford. I think that he could be a good role player. But I think the Daniel Gafford experiment as a starting center is over. He too light in the ass. I'm tired of seeing my centers getting bullied. I'm tired of it. I think that Daniel Gafford could be a nice piece off the bench. But you need a legit center in there. These are why we're going to lose games. And it ain't too many legit centers running around, right? So it's not like I'm asking those guys to go ahead and make an irrational move and an irrational decision. I'm willing to wait this process out. You might have to go draft your elite center. But I'm letting y'all know now, we're going to lose a lot of games just simply because we can't get a fucking offensive rebound. It looked like that in the preseason. How you think it's going to be in the regular season? We starting Danilo Gallinari, who can't jump over a fucking phone. Not a phone book. He can't jump over a phone. As the backup 5. With Mike Muscala, who can't check me on the perimeter. I'm a little nice. Ask about me. No shade to Mike Muscala. I'm a little nice. Ask about me. But I'm going to be excited to lose that way. I'm going to love Jordan Poole doing a double behind the back finger roll while we down by 35. Because I know the end game now. I can't wait to do film reviews when we lost by 20 points. But my man Corey Kispert hit 7 threes. I can't wait to do it. I can't wait to do a reaction video. As I mentioned before, the roster is going to be fluid. And this is my closing point. I think a lot of this season, especially the first half of the season, is going to be focused on not only the development of Bilal Powell, but expect guys like DeLon Wright, Tyus Jones, and maybe even Landry Shamet. I had lumped him in this group before his foot injury to be showcased. Expect these guys to get a lot of minutes because they're going to be showcased for first-round picks. That's just simply what you do when you're a rebuilding organization. You never think that an asset is great enough unless it's one asset, a rookie asset that you drafted, that you inherited a lot of time in and a lot of research. But you never hold on to it, love an asset too much to the fact that you think you need to hold on to it. Expect a lot of losses because we're playing Tyus Jones and DeLon Wright and Landry Shamet. In hopes, look at the end game though, in hopes of hopefully flipping them for a first-round pick in February, come the trade deadline. Every team needs a point guard. And you know, a lot of these GMs just look at numbers. So they're going to love the fact that we got our point guard that has led the league in assist to turnover ratio for the last 5 years in Tyus Jones on the block. Even though he applies the same amount of rim pressure as Monty Morris. Which also applies the same amount of rim pressure as my out-of-shape 28-year-old ass. Which isn't much. But hopefully he can get his assists and not turn the ball over. DeLon Wright can keep doing his little defensive thing. Get a couple steals. Maybe showcase him as an elite on-ball defender against a couple of guards. But this roster is going to be very fluid. So a lot of these people that I'm talking about today, I don't expect to be talking about in a year from now. I'm excited to see Corey Kispert and how he carries in that breakout couple of weeks that he had at the end of the season. We seen him dunk on Buddy from the Toronto Raptors the other day. Corey Kispert, I ain't never seen you act like that before. But hopefully I can get some more of it. Pause. That was crazy. But I think that we got enough promising guys and enough young guys and enough decent role players and vets to have us a fun season. Even if we lose it or not. I think Vegas has us with the lowest win total, rightfully so. I'm telling y'all, there's going to be a game this year where we get out rebounded by 20 rebounds. I'm telling you that. And these are going to be the reasons we lose. And that might be get over the head of the most casual fan, but you're not fooling us over here at WizKidsForever. And I'm excited to see it, though. I'm excited to see it because guess what? NBA basketball is back. NBA basketball is back. Now, I'm not sure what the starting lineup is going to be trotted out tomorrow. You know, Danny Alvey has signed this deal since our last game. He started in place of Kyle Kuzma at power forward before that. Bilal has been our starting small forward all season. Denny was hurt the first couple of games that Kyle played with Bilal. So I'm interested to see what our starting lineup is going to be. And let me know I'm going to let you know what my ideal starting five is going to be come January. Because I know it's not going to be this now because we're showcasing guys like Tyus Jones. Give me Jordan Poole at the 1. Give me Bilal at the 2 or the 3. Give me Corey Kispert at the other 2 or the 3. They're interchangeable. You might need Bilal to check the shooting guards while playing the 3 on offensively. Give me Kyle Kuzma at the 4. And I hate to say it, but he all we got. Give me Daniel Gafford at the 5 with Denny coming off the bench as, you know, your offensive initiator with the second unit. Along with Tyus Jones. I know that's not going to happen now. And a lot of you guys are saying, oh, Jordan Poole isn't a point guard. How many hyper-athletic, he's not hyper-athletic, but how many hyper-type ISO guards do we see get their keys to a team? ISO hyper-scoring guards get their keys to a team, rock out as the main ball handler, and break out. Nobody would have thought James Harden had point guard type ability when he left the OKC Thunder. But he does. Listen to Patrick Beverly talk about how James Harden throws a pass with the seams perfect every time. That's point guard type stuff. Now, I'm not saying that he's James Harden. But in a league where hyper-scoring guards have the ball in their hands the most, I think that we're going to let Jordan Poole rock out, and I think that he should be our 1. Let's force him to have the ball in his hands so he can learn through his mistakes and hopefully evolve from that and become a point guard that makes decent decisions. I'm not looking for him to average a whole bunch of assists. That's what we got these positionless basketball players for. But like I said, that's my ideal starting 5. That's my NBA 2K starting 5. And I've been running amok on everybody with the Washington Wizards. If you want this work in 2K, holla at me. My PSN is Stunning Showtime with an underscore in the middle. But yeah, that's my WizKidsForever ideal starting 5. Let me know yours. But that'll do it for our pilot episode of WizKidsForever. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, I'm going to be coming with a lot of content. Not only we going to have podcast episodes, we're going to have film review, we're going to have reaction video, we're going to have everything that you're looking for. Everything that you're looking for a basketball content channel, we're going to have it over here at WizKidsForever. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. As I mentioned before, if you're checking us out on YouTube, be sure to like, be sure to comment, be sure to subscribe. If you're checking us out on audio-only platforms like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, be sure to leave a rating, be sure to leave a review, preferably 5 stars. That way we can finesse these algorithms so that if you're looking for anything, like I said at the beginning of the episode, any and everything, because you know it ain't a lot of coverage over here on the Washington Wizards. Y'all know that. But we're going to give you all of it. We're going to give you all of it over here with WizKidsForever. So if you're looking for anything, finesse those algorithms, leave a rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, preferably 5 stars. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode. Can't wait to drop the next one. Peace.